You mentioned the startup of PayPal, which is a great innovation that happened in sort of how we pay for things. That seems to me an area in which there hasn't been as much subsequent innovation other than Bitcoin as there should be. In other words, quickly transferring money, especially to people you don't know or whatever, is, to me, maybe I'm wrong, far more difficult than it seems like it should be. Are you somewhat disappointed with the way PayPal then proceeded, or are you disappointed with the lack of innovation in the digital currency environment?
Yeah, PayPal has definitely, I mean, it hasn't moved much since from when it was sort of bought by eBay. The long-term vision that it had for PayPal, or sort of in sort of finance, was to well, it sounds a bit strange, like to convert the financial system from a series of heterogeneous, insecure databases to one database, or, well, not one database, but maybe there'd be like a few more. The money is just a number in a database. That's what it is, and it's primarily an information mechanism for labor allocation. And the current databases are not very efficient. Like there are these old legacy mainframes that don't talk to each other very well, have poor security, and only do batch processing once a day.
Are you glad PayPal is being spun off?
It's probably the right move.
And what would you do with it?
Well, I think I converted it into more of a full-service financial institution. So you want to do all the things that a consumer, you want to have like all the financial services that somebody needs in one place, seamlessly integrated together and easy to use. And I think really care about the consumer. I think a lot of banks don't seem to care that much about the customer. So I think there's an opportunity to be like a really good bank, effectively, but much more than what people think of as.
Do you think Bitcoin will be disruptive in that way? I mean, now it's a speculative currency. Will it be something that will be what normal consumers will use and will disrupt the banking industry?
My opinion of Bitcoin is that, I think Bitcoin is probably a good thing, but it's essentially, its main thing will be, I mean, this will probably get quoted here and there, but I think it's primarily going to be a means of doing illegal transactions. But that's not necessarily entirely bad, because some things shouldn't be illegal. But
the combination of Silk Road and Bitcoin will save us?
Well, it will be useful for legal and illegal transactions. Otherwise, it would have no value as a use for legal transactions, because you have to have a legal to illegal bridge.
Yeah.
I don't own any Bitcoin.
Finally, what I'd like to talk about is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had a magnificent run this year. It got down below 4,000 in March during the coronavirus crisis. And we know very well, went through a lot of growing pains in that time, and I think is better for it. And I mean the entire ecosystem, including the exchanges that at one time allowed 100 times leverage. I don't know if that's still going on, but those who were 100 times levered in March, they no longer have their businesses. So I think governance is becoming better in this space, which is all to the good. We have written 2 white papers, specifically Yassine El-Mandra, our crypto analyst, has, and one of them examines whether institutions are ready for Bitcoin, and also asks the other question, is Bitcoin ready for institutions? And, we think one of the reasons that Bitcoin is appreciating is institutions are dipping their toes in. Now, they're doing this not just from an investment point of view, but from a corporate cash point of view. Some of you may know that MicroStrategy has converted all of its cash, the cash on its balance sheet, into Bitcoin. Square has done that with, I believe, it's 5% of its 1% of its assets, 2% of its cash. And I believe we're going to see other companies doing that as well. We know that PayPal also announced, so it is following Square and Robinhood and allowing the purchase and sale of Bitcoin. PayPal is, a much more conservative, more old world company than either Square or Robinhood. So again, some validation there, seal of approval of sorts. And the paper that Yassine wrote describes what would happen if institutions decide that a 5% allocation to Bitcoin is appropriate. And the reason, and really that number is closer to the 6% range, the way we wrote the paper. But the reason 5% is important to me is I saw real estate entering pension funds in the 70s, and they started with 1%, migrated to 5%. We saw emerging markets, many pension funds and institutional investors moving into emerging markets as MSCI developed that classification and moved from 1% to 5% and wherever they are now. And we think the same thing is going to happen with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And if it does, and if it's, say, just with Bitcoin, and we've got that 5% allocation, somewhere in the 4 to 6% range, that if that were to happen and all institutions were going to do it, of course, that's not going to happen, but some might add more, so offsetting those who don't participate at all. That would add somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 to the Bitcoin price. We're at 20,000 right now. Now, that is not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen for years. But if we're on our way, it is going to be a very pleasant journey. Although, given your history in the payments ecosystem, it would be very interesting to know if you agree with Jack and there is going to be one native cryptocurrency when it comes to the internet. He thinks it's Bitcoin.
It's interesting. I have some friends of mine that are kind of really involved in crypto. I mean, I think like the Bitcoin structure was quite brilliant. Yeah, it seems like there's some merit to Ethereum as well, and maybe some of the others. But, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it would be a good use of Tesla resources to get involved in crypto. I mean, we're really just trying to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. And I mean, I think actually one of the downsides of crypto is that computationally, it's like quite energy intensive. So like there had to be some kind of constraint on the creation of crypto. So, but it's very energy intensive to create like the incremental Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah, but by the same time, there were $1.3 trillion worth of transactions in Bitcoin, and we don't see it here because it's not for pizza or Coke. It's business to business in Africa. Yeah, but we think it is business to business in Africa, where it is prohibitively expensive to convert from one nation's currency to another. You have to go through the dollar. I mean, it really is very important it's money over IP for them. It's free transmission of money. And that's really important to opening up the world. And, it
bypasses currency controls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's
well, and
paper money is going away.
Yes.
And crypto is a far better way to transfer value than pieces of paper. That's for sure.
Without a doubt.
That has its pros and cons.
Just to clarify, Tesla's not going to start selling Bitcoin anytime
No, we're
soon.
not.
Okay, you heard it here first, even though everyone thought that.
No.